I thought I would do a quick little intro video to show you the progress that I've made on my 75-gallon vertical hermit crab tank. It's a little hard to see because the sun's shining in there. So I had one of these tanks a month ago, and it shattered. So it took me several weeks to find an identical tank, and I needed one identical because I had already ordered the plexiglass inserts and measured everything according to this tank's dimensions. So I'm partway through the setup. I've already done my background, which is foam, and I put the Eco Earth over it while it was wet, and for the most part that seemed to work fine. I had a few places where it didn't stick, so I came back and did some silicone over those bare spots and then added more cocoa fiber to it. So I'm probably going to leave it like this. I don't need it really dense. I don't care. The crabs aren't going to care. I did goof up with this plant holder right here, and I put too much foam and it filled up inside. So I'm probably just going to, I cut some of it out, but I have some fake flowers that I was planning on putting in the tank. I think I'm just going to stick those down in there. The foam will hold them in place and it'll be fine. This one is okay. It still has quite a bit of cocoa fiber in the bottom of it that I'm just going to use my vacuum and suck out, but I'll eventually put maybe a real plant in there, but for now it's just going to be a moss pit. I don't want to jump into the live plants just yet. So you can see I've put a bunch of different climbing limbs into the foam background, so these are permanently in place. These shelves are tree fern panels, and I have 3 of them down here stuck directly to the back of the wall because they're supposed to be ideal for establishing live moss. So I hope to get some live moss, that's just foam, established on those and get it growing. I don't know how that's exactly going to happen, but that's my plan. If it doesn't, the moss doesn't take, it doesn't matter. It's just something else for the crabs to climb on. I don't have my substrate finished. I ran out of sand last night, so I just got back from Lowe's. I hope to get the substrate pretty close to the bottom of the panels, kind of where that red line is at. At first I was going to go completely to the red line, but that was to allow for settling, and I don't think with this ratio it's going to settle as much as I thought it would. And let me show you, if you can see here in the bottom, this first layer here, can you tell the difference? So this bottom layer here is 5 parts sand, 1 part chunks of cocoa fiber, like the big chunks, 1 part just regular cocoa fiber, the shredded fine stuff, and 1 part oyster shells. And I didn't like that mix. So then I went to up here, where you can see 10 parts sand and then 1 part all the other items. The very bottom is grow stone. I'm attempting to do a natural false bottom. I've never done a false bottom in 12 years of crabbing, but that's getting to be kind of a popular thing in some groups, so I thought I would try a natural alternative because I have no interest in building the fake plastic one. It's too much work. So what I did is put down a thick layer of grow stone, which will aerate and absorb water, and then I put down a thick layer of sphagnum moss. It's a lot thicker than it looks right there. Some of the sand came around the edge back there. You can kind of see there was a little bit of a bulk. It was hard to tell how even it was from above. And then with this insert in here, I'm short, so I couldn't reach all the way to the bottom. So I had to use a dustpan to kind of smooth it around. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But the idea is that that will help aerate the bottom. If I were to have a flood, the water would be able to drain all the way down and not flood my crabs. This insert right here, you can see it's moving. That's 2 pieces of plexiglass. I doubled it to make sure it was thick enough because Lowe's didn't have the really thick stuff. One sheet of the really thick stuff was like $80. And I only paid $80 for the first tank, and I paid $40 for this tank. So I wasn't paying $80 for a single sheet of Lexan. So I just took and doubled it. So there is some concern with this natural false bottom that it may not have enough air, and I may end up with a bacteria bloom if I have a flood. I've set up a 10-gallon tank to test that out with hydro balls. I was originally going to use the hydro balls in here, but people said there was a concern about them melting and getting goopy, and that's when I found these grow stones and decided to go with those. But I set up a 10-gallon experiment tank with the hydro balls. The nice thing about this is if I do have a flood and I don't feel like it's draining very well, I can just slide these up and allow some extra airflow down here along the bottom. You can already see there's a little bit of a gap right there where they didn't push flush all the way in, which is fine. I'm on cement. This room has a drain in it. If this were to flood and it came out of there, it's not a big deal. If you're on carpet, you may not want to do that. But, yeah, I've got just a tiny little bit of a gap right there. But I'm not worried about it. So today I have to finish getting the substrate in. Mount my heat mat, get it insulated, and then put in the rest of my decorations, get my water pools in. I'm planning to do some mangrove root in my fresh water, so I need to order that. I didn't previously order it because I didn't want it to die while I was trying to get all this together. And with the first tank breaking, that was a good plan. But you can see they have lots of things sticking out for them to grow on, but nothing should get them too close to where the door is going to be up here, so they won't be able to escape. But I did buy some extra clamps just to help secure the door in case my original plan for the door is not as secure as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, that's where I'm at this point. I'm really excited about this, but I'm also very nervous after that first tank shattered on me, and I don't know why. I have such anxiety about this tank also breaking. I have it setting on cardboard because I had to sneeze. I'm still getting over a head cold. So I have it sitting on a piece of cardboard to keep the glass on the bottom from scratching on the cement. But that also helps sort of fill the gap between the frame and the glass. So I let it sit for a good week easily with the background drying because I got sick right after I started the background. So I left it sitting upright like this for 7 days with the background, make sure everything was kind of secure. So I'm pretty happy with that. As of right now, I don't know if I would have done things differently. You know, other people recommend smearing all of that foam with silicone and then going over it with the cocoa fiber, but that's super messy, so you may or might not want to do that. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to finish the build hopefully today and be back with a final video. Okay, so I think I'm as close as I can get to being done for now. I'm going to have to make another trip back to Lowe's because the piece of plexiglass that I had cut to fit for the door is like 1/4 of an inch too wide. So I'm going to have to take it back, get a little bit more trimmed off of it, and then I'll get the door mounted. But for the most part, I think I've got everything else in place. I've got 2 light strips up there for now. One came with the tank, and then one is an LED strip I ordered. This is just my LED flashlight. That's not part of the setup. I have my bean farm heat mat mounted, insulated. I've got some fish netting hanging up there. I got most of my vines in. I think that I'm going to start out with my shells in that little bitty, cute little bathtub thing because I think it's cute. But if I decide it's taking up too much floor space, then I'll just move the shells up into one of these hanging baskets. I've got my wicker chair hanging up there. Another wicker basket up here. my pools. I haven't put the water in them yet, but I double bowled. So if I need to lift the bowls out, the bottom bowl will hold the sand from caving in around it, and that will also ensure against potential flooding. If one of the bowls happens to break or crack and starts leaking, ideally the bowl underneath it would catch the excess. And then I've just got some shells in there to make it easier for the smaller crabs to get out. I put some coral sand in the bottom that I had left over. So I think those will be good pools. My substrate is, not counting this down here, the actual usable substrate is 9 inches deep. So that should be a nice depth for anybody to molt. My biggest crabs are only, that are going to go in here, are only medium size. So this wall over here, still really bare, and that is not how I intend to leave it. I intend to get some more vines that I want to kind of drape across the top and then down the side to fill that in some more and make that all climbable space. I'm also going to go, as soon as I finish this video, I'm going to go over to Isopod Connection and order some, I think she does the hemp nets also. I've got a little bit of netting there, but I'd like to maybe do another section of net here. I'm definitely going to order some of her cocoa huts, the hanging cocoa huts like I have in the big tank. And then I'm thinking about maybe doing one of her log bridges, but I don't know with the bridge, do I want to span it, you know, across this way just to give a little more area, or do I just want to drape it down the side so they can just climb up it? I'm not sure. So this is my 75-gallon vertical Crabitat, nearly finished. I'm pretty excited. I think it looks really nice. There'll be 7 crabs that are going to live in here. I have 5 endos, or I guess it'll be 8 crabs. I have 5 endos that will be moved in there once it's stable. And then I have, I'm supposed to be getting 3 baby blueberries later this spring. And they're going to live in here with the endos. They'll all be really small, so medium, 5 medium endos and 3 baby blueberries for the time being. And we'll see how that goes. I'll post updates as time goes on once the tank is established and once the crabs are in there, see how I feel like it's going, how it is to maintain, if I feel like there's enough space. I know people worry about the actual floor space, but crabs are climbers. In the wild, they climb the trees. So I think with all this extra vertical space being put to use, it will more than make up for the limited floor space. And even at this point, it's still more floor space than you would have in a 10-gallon tank. I could take I've got a cocoa hut in the back corner. I could take that out, and then that's a really big cocoa hut that's back there. I could take that out in the little bathtub, and they would have a lot more just level space back there. But we'll see how it goes. I think they're going to end up spending a ton of time up here and climbing and just roosting on the limbs and hanging out in the baskets. So we'll see if I'm right. Thanks for tuning in. And stop by the Crab Street Journal if you need some information on how to properly care for your crabs. I may do a write-up on this as an article with still photos and put my supplies list on there and any issues I encountered. So if you're thinking about doing a similar setup, maybe I can help you avoid making any mistakes I made. Anyway, thanks for tuning in.